With Black Ops 4 right around the corner, I figured there is no better time to look back through the history of Call of Duty and look at the various Black Ops games and look at the evolution of Black Ops multiplayer. Now, this is a series we've kind of done for a while on this channel, looking at the evolutions of game modes, guns, and even create a class throughout the various Call of Duty games. But today, we are going to look at the evolution of every Black Ops multiplayer. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm not even going to have a longer intro than this. Let's just hop into it and talk about everything that's changed throughout the years. Of course, starting with Black Ops 1. Honestly, Black Ops 1 is probably one of the most important games in the entire Call of Duty franchise. Reason being, this was the very first game where Treyarch pulled their balls out and said, we are not afraid to take risks. And they really did continue this strategy throughout their games. And clearly it worked, because Call of Duty Black Ops is probably the biggest Call of Duty franchise out there. Arguably, but probably is. An example of how they took a risk with Black Ops 1 is the setting itself. Black Ops 1 takes place in around 1965 during the Cold War. Really, when you think about it offhand, I can't think of any other first-person shooters that use this setting. There's a lot of World War II, modern shooters, and even future shooters, but Cold War, there's not many out there. And while we're talking about risks, we have to talk about probably the biggest risk out of anything that they added into the game, and that was a brand new create a class system. And the system that they used in this game is called basically Call of Duty points. Now, I know that means something completely different today, but basically the way this worked is as you played the game, leveled up, progressed through, completed challenges, you would get more and more Call of Duty points. And with this, you could buy weapons, camos, attachments, perks, basically anything in create a class, you had to buy it. So for example here, when we go to create a class, if I go to choose a new weapon and we go to submachine guns, the only one I have available here is the Mac 11. So it costs 2,000 Call of Duty points. So when I buy this weapon and equip it, and then I go to attachments, as you can see, every single attachment is unlocked, but I have to purchase every single attachment individually. So say, for example, I wanted to use a grip, I would have to pay then 1,000 COD points, and then boom, it is equipped. I don't have to do challenges, get a certain amount of kills with the weapon. All I have to do is buy it with COD points, and boom, I have it unlocked. So unlike previous Call of Duty games where all you had to do was simply level up and then unlock it, in this game you had to level up to the level that it was unlocked, and then you had to purchase it with Call of Duty points. Now, in every single Treyarch game, including Black Ops 1, they try to innovate something new to kind of progress the game in a forward direction. And in Black Ops 1, that was not only the Call of Duty point system, but also something new to the game called wager matches. So wager matches were an idea where you could take your Call of Duty points and literally gamble them away. High roller games would cost 10,000 COD points, and if you doubled down, 20,000 Call of Duty points, but if you won, you instantly doubled your money, which was an interesting way to add some suspense to a game of Call of Duty. And these game modes included One in the Chamber, Sticks and Stones, Sharpshooter, and of course, the fan favorite, Gun Game. Now, these game modes would all return in future Call of Duty games in one form or another, but never returned in the form of wager matches. The only Call of Duty game with wager matches is Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Now, another interesting piece of information about the Black Ops multiplayer is it's actually one of the Call of Duty games with the most weapons ever in its multiplayer. So for example, in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, this game has 31 different primary weapons. Keep in mind that none of these are actually DLC weapons. And then on top of that total with secondary weapons, there are 42 weapons total, which is a really large amount, especially for having no DLC weapon. Now, I can't finish talking about the Black Ops multiplayer without talking about the maps, because honestly, Black Ops 1 has some of the most iconic maps in all of Call of Duty. Some of those examples include Array, Firing Range, Summit, Jungle, and of course, we can't leave off the list the map that seems like it will never, ever be removed from Call of Duty Black Ops is Nuketown, which is of course going to be coming back in November to Black Ops 4 with another reimagined version of it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is Call of Duty Black Ops 1. If I missed anything, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. But moving on to Black Ops 2. This is a game that if you go around and ask people who've played Call of Duty for years, it's hard to find someone that didn't like Black Ops 2. Honestly, it's one of the most cherished games throughout the Call of Duty community, and looking back on it, it really does hold up. There are a lot of aspects of this game that do incredibly well. So let's start by talking about the biggest thing that they changed in Black Ops 2, which once again is the create a class system. So in Black Ops 2, they completely got rid of the Call of Duty point system they had in Black Ops 1, and it was replaced by what they called the Pick 10 system, which in my opinion is the best create a class system that's ever been in Call of Duty. And this system is pretty simple. You have 10 slots and you can fill them with whatever you want. Now, of course, this would change a little bit when certain things would cost more points of the 10 slots, but for the most general description of it, you had 10 slots, you had to fill them. And what this did is allow players to have freedom. As they leveled up, unlocked weapons with what are now new unlock tokens, they then had the option of creating a class based on how they wanted to play. If they wanted to play with no perks and tons of attachments, they had the option to do so. If they wanted to play with no attachments, tons of perks, once again, the option to do so. Or if they wanted to just play with a knife and nearly every perk in the game, once again, that was an option. Another thing that Black Ops 2 innovated on was kill streaks, or I guess I should say score streaks, because Black Ops 2 is actually the first game to implement directly score streaks. I know in Modern Warfare 3 they had point streaks, but score streaks was 100% based off of the score. If you captured an objective, it counted, assists counted, and of course, kills counted. This was the first game to implement this, and in doing so, I think they did a pretty good job. In fact, I would go out on a limb and say this is a Call of Duty game with some of the best score streaks ever. I feel like this game has very strong score streaks, whether you're using a K9 unit, Swarm, Stealth Chopper, or Warthog. All of these were options that could get you a ton of kills. Yes, sometimes they were a little bit more difficult to get because they costed more score, but damn, they were good. The Black Ops 2 had a little less weapons at a total of 39, and this does include the Peacekeeper, which is the one DLC weapon that they added in this game. And speaking of which, Black Ops 2 was actually one of the first Call of Duty games to implement microtransaction as a solid feature within their game. One example is the Peacekeeper, a weapon that you could buy with real-world money. On top of that, there were many calling cards, reticles, and camos that you could purchase with money. And the reason why I bring this up is because this is actually one of the first Call of Duty games to implement this. And I can't talk about Call of Duty Black Ops 2 without talking about one of its most popular and one of its most innovative features in its game, and that of course is ranked play. Now, this blew up in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which in turn helped blow up the competitive scene and the game as a whole. Ranked play in Black Ops 2 is probably one of the best and robust systems that's ever been implemented directly into a Call of Duty game. And this was refreshing because before this, there was no really ranked system to rank yourself as a player other than just leveling up and trying to become max level. So this was a more than welcome feature of the game that really just hasn't been replicated quite as well ever since Black Ops 2. And the last thing that there is to talk about is the various maps. Of course, they brought back Nuketown once again with Nuketown 2025, but some of the more iconic maps in the game include Slums, which is coming back in Black Ops 4, Raid, which is coming back in Blackout, and then of course you can't forget about Hijacked or even Carrier, a map that is really one of a kind in the Call of Duty series. And that sums up Black Ops 2, a game which is loved by many and hated by few. But moving on to Black Ops 3. And this game, probably the most controversial on the list, but once again, a game that I think, for the most part, is pretty much loved by the community. And the interesting thing about this is it's really one of the only Call of Duty games that has advanced movement, wall running, boost jumping, that really is loved by the community. And similar to the other games, we have to look at the innovations that Black Ops 3 made, and the first of which is its movement style. Its boost jumping with wall running that wasn't overly aggressive was its new style, and it worked for the most part. I know not everyone loved this advanced movement, but I think they did a pretty good job with it. Now, their other piece of innovation, arguably their bigger piece of innovation, is their new specialist system. The Black Ops 3 launched with 9 specialist characters, each of which had their own specialist weapon and specialist ability that you could choose from before you went into the game. Now, whether you love or hate this system, because I know it is split, what would happen here is as you played through the game and killed people and captured objectives, your meter would go up faster and faster, and once it built up the entire way, you could unleash a weapon or ability upon your enemies. Now, some people like these. They thought this kind of ability should be limited to score streaks, but Treyarch thought differently, and I think for the most part it worked. There were of course some that were overpowered throughout the life cycle of the game, but I will mention that this is one of the things that is returning in Black Ops 4, with a little bit of differences to it, but it is returning. Now, one thing I think Black Ops 3 did incredibly well that not a lot of people talk about is their leveling system, progression, and challenges. So in Black Ops 3 there is 10 prestiges with a master prestige. This master prestige consists of 1,000 levels, and trust me, it takes forever to get to that top level 1,000 unless you glitch the game, which, to be honest, for a present day Call of Duty game, this game had a little bit too many glitches in it. But on top of that, Black Ops 3 had challenges like the Dark Matter camo or hero gear for the specialist that took forever to grind out and complete, but once you did, gave an awesome reward that actually felt good, compared to other Call of Duty games that have these systems, and then you just kind of get a boring old camo at the very end. Now, the one thing we have to talk about, of course, when it comes to Black Ops 3 is their microtransactions, their supply drop, the black market. So the black market was an area that you could go to in Black Ops 3 and purchase or unlock supply drops. Now, this system was ever evolving throughout the game. At one point there was only Call of Duty points and crypto keys, and then there was new things like daily doubles, triple plays, and other things that you could buy with money or unlock through in-game challenges. But the one thing was for sure, this was a 100% RNG system. There was no way to directly buy individual weapons or individual camos, and overall there was just a lot of things, a lot of items implemented throughout supply drops. If we simply talk about weapons alone, the game launched with 31 different weapons, and then by the end of the DLC cycles there is now, on top of that, 31 new ranged weapons and 19 melee weapons that they added throughout supply drops. So in total there are 81 weapons in Black Ops 3 as of right now because of DLC weapons, launching with a total of 31. So a pretty insane number when you really think about it. Now, I don't think anyone can really argue this is probably the most biased supply drop system in favor of the developer that we've ever seen, and we probably won't see anything this bad ever again. People fought back against this with things like Black Market Blackout and other various campaigns. People tried to get people to stop buying these actual supply drops, but to this day, things have changed. There are different ways in the present Call of Duty games to get these things, and at this point, the question is, are supply drops going to return in Black Ops 4? I've said for months now that I don't think they will, but at this point nothing is yet to be said about that in Black Ops 4. So really, in a couple days, we'll have to find out. So in Black Ops 3, the score streaks, in my opinion, were just okay. There wasn't anything that was out of this world good like there was in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, but at least it gave you something to play for, and every once in a while when you got a RAPS or even a Mothership, you could absolutely go off with these score streaks. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about, something that I don't think a lot of people actually talk about, is the Black Ops 3 maps. Now, I talked about the previous two games having these iconic maps, and really, if you ask me, Black Ops 3 doesn't have any of these really super iconic maps that I want to go back to and play every single day. It does have a couple, of course. It's got brought back Nuketown once again with Nuke 3 Town, if that's what you want to call it. And then on top of that, the only other map that I would say is really iconic in this game is Combine. Other than that, I don't know whether it's because of the wall running or those different movement mechanics implemented. The rest of the maps, in my opinion, just don't quite stand up to the previous Black Ops maps in the previous games. But hey, that could just be me. If you disagree, feel free to let me know down in the comments. But that, my friends, is Black Ops 3, and the final Call of Duty game we have to talk about is, of course, Black Ops 4. Now, of course, it's not out yet. It comes out on Friday, so basically like 4 days from now, which is absolutely insane. But because of this, we don't have all the information. We don't have all the weapons, score streaks, any final counts or numbers on that kind of thing. So there's a lot of information I would be missing if I talked a lot about this game. But the one thing I did want to talk about with Black Ops 4 is the various innovations that they are making come to this game. Of course, the biggest one of all is the new multiplayer game mode, Blackout, which is brand new to Call of Duty. It's a battle royale mode, and god am I excited to play that more. The beta was absolutely awesome, but this is just brand new to the Black Ops series, which is awesome to see. That's a huge innovation. But even more than that, in my opinion, Treyarch decided to screw with the entire health system in multiplayer. For every Call of Duty game in time before this one, health has been 100 health no matter what. And come to Black Ops 4, they have upped it to 150 health. It basically adds an extra bullet of health to every single gunfight you're going to get into, and it drastically changes the way the game is played. On top of that, most game modes have been changed from 6v6 to 5v5. The only exception to this is, of course, Team Deathmatch, which I do think does make sense. But what is very clear from Treyarch is they make, first of all, very good Call of Duty games, in my opinion, some of the best of all time. And the other thing that it shows is that they are not afraid to innovate and make the Call of Duty game that they want to make, changing things as big as health and amount of players in a lobby to creating a brand new mode called Blackout, which is a giant battle royale. Treyarch does what they want and they do it well. So I am so excited for this game to come out on Friday. If you guys have anything that I missed in these videos from any Black Ops game, feel free to let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed it, took me forever to edit, render, all that kind of crap. So if you enjoyed it, I would appreciate it if you hit that like button. And if you enjoy what you see here, you want to stay up to date on my videos, the best way to do so is hit that subscribe button and make sure you have notifications turned on. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out. Paradigm.